right back into it.
Yeah, I saw this Ryan Bridge, Ricardo Mendes clip this morning.
Oh, that would have been good.
Ryan Bridge is pretty savage, eh?
He is.
He's good.
He's
He's been
good. He's
real
on
good
point,
recently.
man.
And like for everybody.
Yeah.
He doesn't pull his punches on anybody.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
What was the clip?
They're talking about
Is this the one where he's like, they just need to find jobs?
yeah, Tukaroa.
And he's like, what are the jobs?
Well, he's like, the government needs to help Tukaroa. He's like, okay, well, if you were a government, what would you do?
Well, we have a plan.
We'd help. Okay, how? We'll help people find jobs. What jobs?
Yeah.
It's like when I was in India and you walk through the airport and there's like security at the front door. So you can't go into the you can't even go into the terminal where you check in unless you have a boarding pass or a ticket or your passport. So you're not allowed in. And then past there's about 7 or 8 other layers of informal security. Yeah. But they're all just employees of the state. Just give everyone a job.
The levels of bureaucracy. It's
so
intense.
But I was like, what are all of you guys working here? And they all have guns. And then their job is literally to look at you and be like
make you feel safe /
or just
intimidated.
make you feel like it's a secure environment, I guess. I don't know.
It's like that old story of, the king who was paranoid about his treasure being stolen. So he had guards, and then he had guards to guard the guards, and then guards to guard the guards.
What's the moral of the story? There's no moral.
paranoid.
yeah.
By the time we finish payroll, he had no gold.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a good moral.
So,
That's a
I don't
fantastic.
need you guys anymore. Probably could take a break. Welcome back,
very
guys.
good.
Did everyone have a good break?
Yeah, good break.
Yeah.
Good.
Busy. Lots of kids, lots of camping.
Is it?
Yeah.
You'll know how I feel, but I've realized that I don't really have holidays anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I'm complaining. I loved it. Had a great time
Forgotten how
with
to
the kids.
spell the word, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's not really a holiday when you got kids. So, but you still have fun. You make it work and you do things. And
There's only a certain amount of lying around that you can do that's healthy for you.
Yeah. Before you start feeling tired again.
That's what I tell
I
myself.
think I exceeded my limit prior to kids. Yeah, I'm paying the price now.
Paying for it.
What did you do?
Lots of work around the house. We had our garage was full of just trash, and so that took me. I got one of those big orange bins,
Oh, nice.
and it was quite fun actually. And then the whole garage was
Doing
empty.
barbecuing as well.
And then I started barbecuing, getting in touch with my Middle Eastern heritage.
this guy does charcoal barbecuing inside his house.
That is not true.
Oh, what? You told me you were barbecuing in the house.
In the garage.
Oh, okay. Oh,
No, I thought you're
Just
saying
sitting
it
in
like
the
I'm
kitchen table.
sitting in front of the TV.
That's what I thought. That's
oh
what I
my
thought.
days, bro! Holy,
Because when you told me, I was like,
dude, you can get me kicked out of my house.
Next to the lawnmower and a fuel tank of
Yeah,
gas
exactly,
and-
exactly.
Okay.
No, I was not sitting in front of my TV barbecuing.
ChatGPT open.
Yeah.
ChatGPT. How do I
How to start a fire?
barbecue outside? How do I barbecue outside without burning down my Reaper?
Yeah, I don't burn my garage.
I did it next to my car, which in hindsight was probably not a good
Oh, so you
idea.
actually did.
Well, the car was parked outside, and I
Just
was
in case you need a little bit extra.
yeah. ChatGPT said 3 meters away is fine. So
You need more drama in your life, do you?
I think I do.
You know what we don't stress about enough anymore? Having your cell phone in your pocket when you're putting petrol in your car.
Is that a thing?
I think about that every single time I go to the
me
gas
too.
station.
Really?
Have you never thought about that?
I
Different
didn't know that was
generation.
a bad thing.
It's static, eh?
Well,
What?
so when I was a kid, it used to be like, if you're filling up your tank, don't have your phone in your pocket. If it's in your pocket,
What?
you're going to blow up.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sure that Adam and Jamie from Mythbusters did an episode on this.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
I was filling up last night and Ezra jumped out of the car. And I was like, don't get out of the car. It's
Whoa,
dangerous.
really?
And when I thought about it, I was like, why did I react like that? He's like, what's going to happen?
Yeah, just don't slide your bum across the seat, right?
Yeah.
That's where you get that static charge. Yeah. Do you not get static ever when you get out of a car?
Often, actually. Yeah.
It's the wrong shoes.
I don't know,
then.
it started-
You're wearing the wrong shoes and clothing.
Wow. Didn't know
Start
that.
a fire.
Well, why are you scared then?
Like if your phone's in your pocket
Yeah.
and it rings, the radioactive, the
Who-
RVs, the radio waves.
Whose dad is putting this stuff out there? That's actually
Somebody. No,
So-
you look
someone
at the
on
pumps and
WhatsApp.
the pumps have photos with a cell phone with a cross
Yeah, they
through
do.
it.
really.
Yeah, have you not seen it?
I just fuel up and leave.
When you're only putting $5 in a time.
Okay, no, come on now, come on now. Cost of living.
The number of countries where I've filled up with gas and someone's like smoking a cigarette at the
Yeah,
fuel
yeah,
pump and
exactly,
going, yep,
yeah, yeah.
is that it? You done?
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyway, great to be back, gents. Missed you both dearly.
Oh,
thanks, Nathan.
Nice to have a
too.
break though,
you too.
But the world continued to move even when we didn't. quite a lot's happened. So
It's amazing that the rest of the world doesn't shut down for our Kiwi summer.
Yeah. You'd think it would, but
well, I mean, if it did, Venezuela would still be sovereign nation, wouldn't it? They would still have their
And
president, and
the
Iran.
narco
Gee.
state. Yeah.
Anyway, tell us.
Yeah, so,
geopolitically, Venezuela, oil, ships being taken, submarines, all these things. What's
here we
going on,
go.
mate?
No, I mean, I look, I have really no personal experience of these places. But look, from some of the clever people I've been listening to, and some of the stuff I've been reading, my impression is that we are certainly in a new era of geopolitical action, and that the sort of things that we've seen with Russia and Ukraine, this is not going to be confined, to Eastern Europe. It's not going to be confined to maybe parts of Asia or the Middle East. That this is a really a global phenomenon, and that people in power like Trump are deciding that they must do things that obviously busts international norms, wide apart. So I guess my point of view is we'll see kind of what exactly what the reasoning is in terms of evidence to back it up in regards to Maduro, supporting narco, smuggling cartels, allowing foreign regimes like Russia, China, Cuba, regimes like that to come in, Hezbollah, effectively to be having some sort of presence in Venezuela, which is right on the doorstep of the US.
It is.
So, no, my impression at this stage is we are seeing we just shouldn't be shocked anymore at what anyone does, and I honestly think the gloves are off. I think we've entered a new era of geopolitics.
What do you think that? What do you think that looks like? As in, what's it gone from, and what has it gone to?
Well, I mean, look, I don't believe for a second that everybody was following the international rules-based order.
Right.
That they say
Not
was
everyone.
established
Yeah, of course.
From 1945. There have been so many conflicts, so many people killed all around the world in the second half of the 20th century and into the 21st that I think that was a bit of a charade, a bit of an illusion. What I do think is that people need to start realizing why these leaders, including the leaders of democratic countries like Trump, are doing what they're doing, and I think it's because he, like many other people, see the emerging risks and threats posed by regimes like Russia and China. That there are many sort of minor or medium-sized countries like Venezuela that will certainly collaborate with those larger powers, and that they are scattered all around the world. And so, this is I expect from the Americans' point of view, this is an absolutely necessary move.
I think so.
How do you justify it based on the old rules-based system? You can't.
We can't have rules for everyone because not everyone, like Jonathan wrote about it.
Yeah,
around how do you make legislation in response to people who lie outside of that ideologically? They're not subscribing to legislation in response to the Bondi massacre.
Yeah.
Why will we now make legislation that tries to capture people who are at the level where they're ready to shoot a crowd? Like, it's not going to work. And it's the same with like international law, right? Well, that's an interesting term that I'd be keen to discuss with you because I saw a bunch of people saying this violates international law or global law, and then I saw someone say, well, there's no such thing as international law. Every country has their own judiciary, their own law, but then there's the UN that has put out there, right, these standards and laws and
there is international law, but it's if there's no one to enforce it, then what is the meaning of it? Like there are laws, but they're almost unenforceable because it's whoever has the biggest whoever has the biggest best planes.
So really what people are trying to say, I think, is that there are norms, which is there is an expected standard that you kind of are supposed to
totally
hold yourself to
for the benefit of everyone. But what happens? What happens is there are certain nations, and this is exactly what's happened. There are certain nations like Iran and China and Russia and Venezuela who are using that system to abusing it to their own benefit,
and they've never abided by it,
and they're ruining it for everyone.
Because I was going to say, what are those standards, attached to? What anchors them? What is the underpinning? Yeah, like whose worldview really informs that, and it will be the countries in Western liberal democracies.
Yes,
but then we allow, like you say, these other countries to come and abuse those. We give them a fair shake and then they just come and undermine everything, and then people flee from their countries, come to our countries, and then it undermines everything culturally.
But that's because I think it's because the norms. Put the rules aside for a second. The norms are based on liberal democratic values. And principles. And so not all liberal democracies have the same laws, right? Everyone has customized, laws to suit their country, but they come from a philosophical basis that isn't shared by these other regimes, these authoritarians.
Do you know what's hilarious is that this huge group of people who advocate for the norms that come from Western liberal democracy to be enforced in countries that aren't Western liberal democracies, but then also chastise Western liberal democracies for the way they are. And it's like, well, you're trying to champion the values and principles that are only afforded in this context over there where they don't want it, where they've fled from these. And then you're also criticizing the history and the background or the heritage of, say, England, the US, Australia, New Zealand for achieving these things and how they were achieved. Nothing happened purely through handshakes and good faith. There's blood, sweat, and tears through all of history.
Of course.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? I think you are right. There's been a paradigm shift. We're entering into a very strange period of time.
I think the sooner that people, accept that, the better. That doesn't mean that it's going to be life is going to be better. It's not going to be. It's going to be tougher for pretty much every country in the world. But I think it's unavoidable at this point. We've got antagonists out there that Russia, China that are just going to. They're hell bent on trying to achieve certain aims. Now, at the same time, Venezuela has posed a problem in terms of refugees, in terms of migrants that have left. 8 million.
It's the second largest exodus in modern history, right?
Yeah, I mean, Syria has had, I think slightly larger exodus. But, okay, people have said, what about Syria? What about Syria? And so then something's done about Venezuela. And then people are like, why are you doing this in Venezuela?
They did it in Syria. They'd be like, how do you touch Syria?
I think that there's just a reflexive, there's a reactive response here, which hasn't really been thought through and isn't consistent, particularly coming from those on the left who would be happy to criticize interventions, humanitarian interventions even in the past, done by conservatives. But in this case, where there's clearly a dictator, someone who's risen to that status, and there's clearly a lot of suffering, and a huge number of migrants that have fled the country, and the economy is in tatters, that there is the humanitarian argument to be made. Now, that's interestingly though not what Trump and his administration are really arguing.
Well, they're arguing national security and
resources.
Yeah.
Which is very honest of them.
Largest oil reserve in the world, right?
It's very honest of them,
Is it 300 billion barrels?
Yeah, the largest known reserves,
in the world. Yeah. Like when the US went into Iraq or Syria or the Middle East, it was a conspiracy to say that, they're there for oil. Like it was the quiet thing you whisper. But what I appreciate about this one is he's gone and done it, and he's like, yeah, we're doing this for oil, and we're taking the oil.
Wait, it wasn't weapons of mass destruction?
Yeah, and there wasn't weapons of mass destruction. We're coming here because we're going to run the bloody place. Yeah.
It's interesting because the US put more money into Iraq than it extracted by far than any oil money they extracted from Iraq.
Yeah.
Well, remember when Trump was
a net deficit, in terms.
Remember when Trump was talking about the exit and they left all the military equipment there? He's like, instead of putting $50 of fuel, flying it over the border, they left it there. Have you seen that? And in his first campaign to be president, he 2015, he's doing all these presidential debates, and he just talks about all the military equipment they left in the US as part of their withdrawal,
and left in Iraq.
Yeah,
okay,
and just criticizing how instead of putting $50 of fuel in the helicopter and flying it over the border, they just left it there. And that's how a lot of these terrorist groups got a lot of arms and military equipment. Was it just left there? As the US
all right, we're leaving now. Leave our stuff here.
They retreated.
That's so stupid.
So are they going to bring the lady who won the Nobel Prize back to?
Well, she's having a meeting with Trump today or tomorrow in the US.
Because the US is running Venezuela effectively.
Allegedly. Apparently on Wikipedia, the president of Venezuela is now Trump. Someone posted it and it's like...
Yeah, I think the trouble is that they've left the old administration in there, right? So Maduro's gone, but his...
his DP is
2AC is now in place. So then the question is, what do they mean by running the country? Is it simply, as soon as you put a foot wrong, we're going to take you out as well? And then 3IC steps in.
Yeah.
Martial law.
Or is it just a a kind of a hold? Is it just a kind of stalling tactic while they figure out how to support the opposition?
Yeah.
But and there is a challenge. I think there are so many ways that Venezuela probably could be torn apart. I don't know that it's enough to assume that there will be a democratic restoration. That that there will be a transition without violence.
It's not as simple as bait and switch.
Well, the Americans know that.
Yeah.
So they've done what they felt they had to, I suppose, and then they've gone, all right, that's enough for now.
Yeah.
While we let the dust settle and see exactly who stands where and how people behave.
Yeah.
But the people, and you couldn't say a vast majority, but it seems like a lot of people there want democracy, right?
Sure.
Totally.
But you have to put
left,
it back
though.
in their hands.
You got to remember that a lot of the migrants now that are outside of Venezuela's borders
Yeah.
Yeah.
are often the ones who are most principled about the democracy. And
People around there either couldn't leave or didn't want to leave.
that's often true of so many of these conflicts.
They have a history and a memory of their freedom. And so
Yeah,
they're
that's
not
right,
like
that's right.
oblivious to what freedom is or what it looks
Well,
like.
and you could say that about Iran
Exactly.
too, right?
Same thing about Iran.
That 1979 is not so far back in history that
it's-
you don't have at least a
There's
generation
people
to-
alive from before the revolution
Yeah.
and
crazy, yeah.
dictatorship.
Deb
Yeah.
just read the book from Yeonmi Park, the North Korean escapee.
Yeah, I read that too.
Oh.
And I haven't read her book, but I've listened to a couple of her interviews. And Deb was shocked at how, because she does such a good job at explaining how certain concepts don't exist in the North Korean mind. So freedom, love, like
What the heck?
self-sacrificial love, marriage, love within a marriage.
That's so scary,
she
man.
didn't understand these things. And I remember listening to a podcast she did with a bunch of comedians,
Mm.
and they would crack jokes, but her brain, even many years after
yeah,
leaving
wow.
North Korea, doesn't process that sort of contextual humor. So she would take everything they said seriously. So, oh, really?
Yeah, they're literally
Really? Oh. And it was like quite an interesting listen, because while they were trying to be funny, she was just so like,
Is this on Flagrant?
yeah, it was
I
on
should
Flagrant,
go watch this. I should go watch
You
this.
should watch it. It's such a good interview because she is so good. And
Yeah.
they're just like stumped that some of the concepts that they're talking about just don't even resonate with her at all.
So I think the level of control over like Venezuela and Iran by those two different regimes was never so complete and
Yeah.
exhaustified as the North Korean grip that they have, and
Yes.
that the government
Oh,
has over their people. And I think the level of indoctrination in North Korea
Is
is
incredible.
I think it's probably unparalleled.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
There was this video I saw over summer about these North Korean made phones. And so it's the phones that they give to their people, and it costs about $1,000 US. So I don't know who has it, because it's a communist country. It's so expensive to build things. But the amount of control and software that is on there, that if you even type the word South Korea, it turns into like enemy state. It just autocorrects it.
Never let your kids like have a go on your phone, eh? Because they'll get you arrested overnight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and it's like constantly taking screenshots of your phone, and it's just like it's quite an incredible and scary watch. The apparatus that they have to control and to just shape people's minds through language is quite scary.
There's the thing, a language. If you
It
can
starts
control
there, yeah.
language. There was some study that I remember where there wasn't a word for, I think it was green or blue, one of those colors. There wasn't a word for it in the original Japanese dialect. And as a result, they found it harder to differentiate between the colors green and blue. Like there was some weird neurological correlation between the language you have and your ability for your brain to function and process certain information.
Starts with the words.
I worked with 4 North Korean guys that had basically fled via different means, but mostly across the northern border into China, and then down through China, through Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam and Thailand and stuff. Eventually got to the South Korean embassies in those countries, and then because of the South Korean policy to take North Korean refugees in,
That's so cool.
they were able to nationalize and acculturate to the South Korean side. But to then see them, like, they were the most aware and most kind of enlightened individuals when it came to questions of freedom. It came to things that we take for granted, and they were so independent minded. After a number, like probably about, for most of them, it's about 4 or 5 years since they'd left, but they'd been through a process of kind of transitioning, so to speak, into a free Western mindset, for lack of a better term. And they loved America. They'd actually been to America. They'd had a chance to travel quite extensively, more so than many South Koreans that I've known. where culture is still very rigid. And I think what I realized from talking with these guys, I knew them over about 6 months, and they were staying with us actually. And what I found incredible was just the every single little thing they had examined fresh, like they'd seen it.
Right, everything was novel
as
and
an
yeah,
adult.
yeah, wow.
And could make the comparison with what they'd grown up with in North Korea and gone, you guys have no idea what you've got here, at your fingertips.
Trying something for the first time, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, and at the same time, they saw the dangers as well, like Yeongmi Park. They saw the dangers in the West as well, in democratic countries.
Young
If there was something you could do for the first time again, like whether try a food or like an experience or something, don't get your mind.
Hey,
I said again, you're not married, so you shouldn't.
Well, no,
What do you mean?
No,
What do you mean?
I was talking about fishing.
Fishing,
yeah.
Because the reason I think about sorry, the reason I think about it is the other day we went out west to More Pork Barbecue. Have you been out there?
Oh,
There's like
this is the one
barbecue.
like right off the road.
Yeah.
It's
So it's in
good.
Cumu.
I better get the details off. Yeah.
It's good. Well, I was just like,
nice.
for the longest time, keep getting YouTube videos talking about American barbecue. And then I was like, oh,
That's so
I
nice.
never seen any good. So we went, but we gave Elisha his first like trial of meat.
Ah.
Like, so the boys were really excited. Like Ezra and Zeke were like, oh, he can eat now. And then Deb and I were like, no, he can't eat. Like, don't give him food when we're not there. But it's kind of funny. It's like his first experience of solid food was brisket. And he was like,
Good on him.
I was like, hey, it only goes downhill from
yeah,
here.
yeah.
I want to get
Don't
hopes
get
up.
used to it, boy.
And then Ezra's like, so we can feed him now. No.
No.
Come downstairs and just force feeding him.
Well, I think to answer your question, I think actually that's why I love travel. Because,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hypothetically, we can think of things that we would want to do again, but for the first time. But like when you travel, you typically you're entering a completely new atmosphere
Yeah.
experience.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's a good way to cheat the system, eh?
Yeah,
Nathan always says this, like the people who love New Zealand and the freedoms we have are, and someone was saying this to me last night, it's like, are people who've traveled and seen parts of the world where things are not very nice. Things are quite scary, actually. And people don't have the freedoms and the peace and tranquility that, relative to the rest of the world, we have here. And it's so true. And the more I think about it, what you said, Nathan, a while ago, rings true,
Often what I say rings true, but
Well,
thank you.
all right.
Nah, so we put out that video the other morning that you recorded last year about the gatekeeper.
Chinese lady. Yeah.
Okay, I swear there's some sort of psyop happening where every time we post about China, all the comments are like, "Well, US and Israel are worse."
Yes, I
Did you
saw
see these?
that.
yeah.
And everyone's like, "Well, the US is foreign interference. There's an FBI office in Wellington, and or who's really controlling the world?"
And
Stuff
someone
like that.
replied, was yeah.
But I'm like, okay, we are literally sharing with you a media story from the government's confirmed it, the NZSAS has confirmed it, Stuff's confirmed it. They've written a whole expose on it. There's receipts, everything's laid bare, and still you're like, no, not as bad as America. So
Yeah, so and what I find interesting is that the frequency with which we get those comments online does
yes.
not reflect the frequency that we get them from people in real time.
no
in
one
real
has,
life.
no one is, or maybe one person. that
Yeah,
comment
there's
has gone.
occasionally someone
Yeah.
that says something like that.
But it's like, who are the people who genuinely out there are like, don't worry about China, who our intelligence service is extremely worried about. Worry about the US and Israel.
Yeah.
Well said.
I mean, and we know at the same time that, like, in a democracy it comes with sort of the requirement that we're eternally vigilant, right?
Yes, well
So,
said.
so it's not that America couldn't become, a major
Yeah,
a bad boy.
threat to civil liberties in its own, to its own people. But I just don't. If we're comparing, countries,
Yeah, no. There's no way.
and I think a lot of these people just haven't travelled extensively.
No, exactly.
Because they're bots.
Well, yeah, but even the people that think this,
Yeah.
you know,
I
the
think
people
so.
that I encounter, because when I pressed them a little bit on, I said, "Oh, okay, what was your reasoning for this? And what comparisons specifically are you making here?" And then they kind of get a bit stuck. So
I had a debate, like a very small debate the other day with someone who the whole Venezuela thing came up and Trump came up, and then they go, oh, "Can you believe that if you want to go to America now, they check your social media?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." Like, and they're like, "Well, you're not concerned about that?" I was like, "Well, I'm not worried about them checking my social media at all." Like,
Yeah. What do you got on there?
like, and then they're like, "But that's such an invasion of privacy." I'm like, well, you don't have a right to go wherever you want, whenever you want, in terms of crossing borders. Like, sure, you have freedom of movement and freedom of association within the nation of which you are a sovereign citizen.
International law, right?
Well, but then I'm like, who are these people that are just like, I should be able to go to America whenever I want, do whatever I want, like, and then all the people who were like complaining about having student visas removed for participating in protests. Yeah, you're there to be a student. You're a guest of that nation. You're not a citizen of that nation. They actually don't have to respect your rights to a degree. Like, obviously, your human rights.
Yeah, there's certain things you can't claim.
Your political rights.
Sure.
Well, you're not part of their political system. So
there was a lady who got kicked out because she was writing anti-Israeli stuff throughout her studies, and she got kicked out. I don't know the full scope of the story, but let's just take it as she was writing some stuff that was not necessarily positive about Israel, and she got her student visa revoked. Is that what you're referring to? Like the Middle East or something. Yeah.
No, like, I think sure, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom, academic freedom, all these things. At the end of the day, though, she is there as a guest of that nation. She's not a political participant in their system.
Yeah,
she's there on conditions. You know, like there's conditions to her being there.
Yeah, I think that the challenge is around being specific about what those conditions are. Like you're a visitor to a country, or you're on a student visa or whatever. You don't have the right to vote. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want them to.
That's one sort of freedom or right you don't have. But we don't do that on all rights, right? So habeas corpus still applies if you're arrested.
Yeah. Habeas corpus.
Freedom of speech, as you mentioned. Like there's lots of things that we would still extend to people that are visitors or on student visas.
Of course.
So the question, I think, in my mind is, okay, exactly what is it?
Yeah, being specific. Yeah.
What is it specifically that they've violated?
So would you say then that she shouldn't have had her visa revoked for being there and being critical?
I don't know the specific case. I've heard of
hypothetically,
lots of different cases.
Hypothetically, let's say she Googled how to make a bomb.
Well, you're not going to get any argument from me on that one, right? If someone engages in anything remotely criminal, of course,
kick them out.
They get their visa revoked.
Yeah,
but I think that's the point, though, is we're not talking about criminal conduct.
It just made me think of, when you watch like a documentary or there's like a news story about like a murder, or a heinous crime.
Yeah,
and then the person's like not guilty, and then they pull up their search history.
Yeah,
it's like, well, you looked up how to dispose of a body at 2:30.
Yeah. Dude,
you looked up how long does it take to dispose of a body, and it's like, man, the internet and like people's search histories are so like.
So
I agree with you in terms of immigration services in any country will do character checks. They do background checks. They want to establish that you're a person who is going to do what you say you're coming to do.
Yeah.
If you begin to really exceed that remit, though, that approval, that visa, the whatever, then there may well be a case. But I think they can't be arbitrary about it. And I think there's a certain amount of random kind of, we're going to chuck this person but not that person, only because the particular political view is
that happened to a Kiwi guy
contrary
recently,
to the administration.
Oh, is it?
A Kiwi guy got to the customs TSA desk in America, and they turned him back, sent him back.
Whoa!
Because I'm pretty sure he was critical of the administration.
Dang.
So that's a bit. At the end of the day, again, though, I'm like, well, you're not a citizen of that nation, like.
But in a democracy, though, in a democracy, if there's a democratically elected government
by those people
in place, right? Yeah. Obviously, not everyone voted for them, though. Yeah. So there has to be this two-way kind of freedom to criticize the party or the opposition.
But remember during the election, and you had all those British politicians come over and help Kamala campaign.
Well, that's different, though.
Like because that sort of thing is like
former New Zealand politicians that were helping a campaign.
Yeah, but that can be different, though, because you can have laws around election interference. So again, specifically, if someone has violated an election interference law by coming in, like we argue for no foreign interference. We're saying, if you are from another country and you're here to kind of advocate for something, or you're influencing people in this country that might
in a covert manner,
in order MPs or people in power
to benefit your nation,
then that needs to be very openly declared, right? It needs to be registered so that the country that you're in understands your intentions and who you're representing. But I think that, again, is being specific. And I think the difficulty here is that we're getting arbitrary political decisions about your political persuasion. And even if you're not an authoritarian, you're not arguing for an authoritarian regime. But there are cases of people who are saying, Like I'm a democratic, person. I believe in democracy. I just don't support that particular party that's in place.
The funnier, more simple, I suppose, perspective that underpins it all is if you hate the administration in America so much, why are you trying to go?
Well, because maybe you support the other party. There's plenty of Americans that feel that way.
But what do you mean? Maybe you support the other party? Because if you're an American, sure, go and you should be allowed in.
You might be more left wing. You might support more left wing, political views, but you're still a Democrat in the sense of you believe in.
But if you're not a
the right
citizen,
to election,
what I mean, if you're not an American citizen, if you're not an American citizen, I mean, if you're just going for tourism or entertainment, but you're like, oh,
well, this is going to swing. The door's going to swing both ways. So does that mean every 4 years in the US or 8 years, whatever, that then the left are free to kind of act on their political persuasion and decline visas on that basis? I just think that's dangerous territory.
Oh, absolutely, it's that's the principle. Yeah. Whatever the precedent is set or whatever the standard is set will be applied by both sides.
I do think so, and I think that's where this argument around norms is really important. It doesn't work internationally very well because there is such a diverse range of governments and approaches. In any country, they might not be quite so far apart.
Yeah. Can I agree with both things with integrity and say I agree with you? That setting that precedent, that standard is really dangerous because the measure that you use will be used against you, right? But can I also say I don't think that people have a right to cross borders and seas and just into whatever country they want.
I agree. Fully agree.
No, don't have open
Is
borders.
it necessary to hold both views? It's not.
Yeah. But
you need immigration policy. I mean, you need to be real about it.
Of course, you've got to be able to enforce your borders, and you've got to have a system that is impersonal in a sense, right?
Yeah.
That is not based on your political biases.
Now, how do we deport everybody?
And I'm talking about specific policy bias.
How do we go to the next step of my plan, which is deporting everybody that I don't like? For example, Kneecap, the Irish band, and the fellow guy Bobby Villain.
Yeah.
And they were quite vocal pro-Palestinian supporters, and they both had their visas revoked from touring in the US. But they had been openly super critical of the state, and also...
they were advocating violence.
Yeah, they were.
They were calling for violence. Bobby Villain
would
was
deny that. But.
Yeah, he was calling for death to the IDF, right?
Yeah.
So I think there could be a case at that point to say, well, hold on, they are seeking to incite violence. Again, there's a high test, high threshold for that in US law, for instance. But if you've got 40,000 or 50,000 people who are all swaying to your, to what you're putting to them, right? And then you say things like that, there's very likely, chance that they will they'll respond in a violent way. Yeah. So
and
I think there's a case to be made. Yeah,
exactly. And you have to. There's this whole thing with the very ultra libertarians who are like, we don't need borders anymore. Open borders, let everyone everywhere because it's great for the economy. Blah blah blah.
Most people in democracies don't see it that way.
No,
and it's just a select group of policymakers that have a lot of influence in governments that seem to push that agenda.
And exactly, but I think what we're seeing, and this is going back to what you were saying about the change in geopolitics today, is that these people have a very amoral perspective of the world, and that values and norms don't matter. Or they don't even see values and norms. They
think it's relative. They think
it's relative, or even exactly. Or we can all just get along.
Right?
We can all just get along, and you can bring in a whole bunch of people from mental asylums and so on.
But we just know that it doesn't work. That's not conducive to a healthy society.
No,
because
it's not.
You get chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly. Totally. And what we're seeing in the world today is exactly the downfall of that.
So, I think this is where we're going. The free trade agreement with India.
Oh boy. I actually have.
Are we for it?
We're in the overseas category, so that's New Zealand first.
Segue. Bringing it back to home soil, free trade agreement. What do you reckon?
I know that the National Party is very pro. I think we're still, Well, it doesn't take much to know that, but I think we're still waiting for the Labours to speak up. And ACT is also very pro, but I think, well, they're not very pro, but they're pro. But that's pro enough because of the economic gains, and that's kind of the libertarian argument of. And I'm sure there are economic gains. What I do think has happened with this one is it's been pushed through at speed for political purposes.
Election year.
And election year, and look, we achieved this, where they could have probably taken a few more months, maybe even through to July this year, to secure more for New Zealand than would have just through negotiations.
Maybe like dairy,
Yeah,
making
exactly.
more gains
Exactly.
for our
Yeah.
dairy sector.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Because that's New Zealand first big issue, eh?
yeah.
There's
That was a
dairy
big
and also I
objection.
think some immigration stuff as well. Is their objection, and so I personally I'm like good to have free trade agreements, but the politicization of it and the speed at which it's gone through is not ideal. But sometimes you think, well, maybe it's good to have it just in the door so you can fix it.
There's a lot of momentum when you're negotiating like that, right? And so I think New Zealand First's argument is that it's all very well to say, oh well, it's good. We've gained all of these concessions, or we've got all of this sort of now secured. We can come back to dairy and negotiate that later.
Yes,
But let's lock in what we do have. It's
That's
like
dangerous.
bird in hand is better than two in the bush. But I think the reality is that because the momentum is there, you would be better to just kind of hold your nerve and say, hold on, no, we still want to figure out something around dairy because that's 30% of our export economy. So
And especially when we're trying to diversify from China, right?
well, absolutely. And right now, our dairy is going largely to China. Like it's a massive, weakness in our economy that we are dependent on that main market. Now, maybe they know something that we don't in terms of the sort of reception that the Indian government might have towards
How open that door is to renegotiation.
Maybe there isn't a chance. Maybe they know that. I don't know. But I think there's certainly some people in the dairy industry that are saying, no, we feel like you've stopped short of of something that's realisable. So
Yeah, but interesting to see how it plays out and what other promises come out through the campaigning. They'll start soon, I imagine. When are they back from holiday? Probably start of Feb. They'll start pumping some comms. They're back, but they're not like full swing. Eh?
Yeah, so I think the first session of Parliament's in February.
Yeah, I think like based on what we saw out of Australia yesterday with the countering anti-Semitism, hate, and extremism, I wouldn't be surprised if someone from Labor and someone from National tried to adopt similar draft legislation and bring that forward
for this year.
Campaigning on it. And I just as we're doing this podcast, I just got a comment from I've had 2 comments so far on the video saying, "You've got this wrong. This is great legislation." I looked at both accounts. One of them was quite a vocal Jewish supporter and a Jewish person themselves, and the other person was quite left leaning. And I'm like, oh, man, those are the 2 communities who are going to adopt this law and potentially try and really push for it.
Yeah, although in New Zealand, the Jewish community is pretty small. I mean, 10,000 probably at the most.
Yeah.
Mate, there's less people in prison. About the same number.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's not that many.
No, true. Okay. Just I'm taking.
We know you love the prison. You love the prison.
No, but what I was going to say is that I'm not sure that there is necessarily in the Jewish community this kind of like single view. As with any issue, but I don't think it's overwhelmingly so. Even after Bondi, that they go, oh well, right, this means we clamp down on certain types of speech. I think a lot of people in the Jewish community. I attended that rally in the city end of last year, which was sort of against anti-Semitism and trying to raise awareness of this problem. And I think a lot of people that were there were saying, we are vulnerable. Absolutely. What we need though is actually a more targeted approach when it comes to policing and intelligence around those individuals and potentially communities,
and even leadership.
Yeah, and a stronger tone from leadership, and that just throwing out this wide net, for the whole population to try and sort of drag everybody into line is not going to work.
One argument that has been brought forward is it gives greater powers to state police or federal police in Australia.
This new law,
the proposed legislation, and some examples and comparisons have been drawn to New Zealand to say that the people who committed these crimes were previously known to intelligence services police, but they were unable to act until an action had taken place. Is that a viable argument? Is that a good justification? What is the response to that when it comes to protecting civil liberties? Because we obviously don't want to increase state power to the level where preemptive policing is the norm, where thought policing is the norm, where they can start prosecuting people on the basis of perceived ideologies or political opinions, things like that.
They have to reduce sort of that burden of evidence, that burden of proof, don't they? In order to really get more prosecutions and preemptive stuff.
Look what's happening in the UK.
Yeah. So what does that do? That I think that has a detrimental effect on our justice system. In a wider sense. That's what's so tricky about this. So
It's a trade-off, eh?
yeah, I think coming back to your immigration argument, this is where obviously you don't catch everybody because there are homegrown terrorists. There are people that have been radicalized by the internet that don't necessarily fit a particular national profile. They've come from a country where there was a particular ideology that radicalized them. But I think by and large, that's what you see. It's certainly what's happening in the UK. Huge number of homegrown incidents of terror are actually from individuals who came from communities where there was this presence of radical thought.
Well, it's second generation is what the
Yeah,
study.
so often the parents weren't radicals.
Yeah.
But they've remained in communities, particular kind of, I don't want to say ethnic because it's not really about ethnicity so much as cultural communities.
Cultural communities, yeah, for sure.
And so if you take the question of Islam, radical sort of Islamic thought in say the north of England, if you're in a community where that's present and you're a young person, knocking about the streets, or you get in trouble for some minor stuff with the law, you that's often a pathway towards radicalization and then potentially terror acts. So all these cases, I looked at this quite closely, especially around the Prevent program that the UK government put in place, and I think that unfortunately there is a pretty clear kind of profile that a lot of these individuals fit. So how do you combat that? I don't think lowering the burden of proof, the burden of evidence is a good idea because that sets a precedent for other ways in which our law is administered. I think we're going to have to think more carefully about how communities enter our country and take root. And I don't mean all ethnic communities. I'm talking about certain types of cultures that come in.
Values,
where there is a really radical element. I mean, you could talk about this in regards to Sikh separatists. You could talk about this in terms of, some African countries where there's separatist movements. You could talk about this in terms of, far right nationalism, that kind of stuff. So
I'm honestly I'm getting notifications as we're speaking of people saying that this draft legislation sounds really good.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard
On Instagram?
full notifications. Yeah,
but that's the problem. Is that they use buzzwords, and a lot of people don't think beyond the buzzwords.
There are still people saying this is horrible, this is not good, but this is the most positive response that I think I've seen
towards this type of legislation.
Yeah, towards this type of legislation, and people are saying, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's kind of wild, that people aren't wise to this sort of stuff now.
Sure.
I mean, in the UK, all you have to do is look at the arrests, the increase of arrests in conjunction with the introduction of the e-safety rules and more broad hate speech laws. I remember when I did the Herald debate, I went in with a few sort of stats and facts in my back pocket. We never ended up going to them, and I said them right at the end, and the producer was like, I wish you'd said that at the start. But it talked about how the introduction of hate speech laws on a campus, I think it was in the States, maybe Alabama, they brought in university hate speech laws. Yeah, speech conduct. The first person to be prosecuted was a black man. And then
I remember that case as well.
Yeah, in the UK there was a similar story around the first person to be prosecuted was a gay man. And it's like every time these rules come in, the most affected community is the community that especially needs the most protection. And I got it from Jonathan Rauch's book, The Constitution of Knowledge, because he talked about it. And I just remember reading that and thinking, well, the evidence is there. We know from history, we can look at stats. How are we not wise to this by now? But I suppose it's human nature, right?
Yep. Well, I think, again, as we're moving into these really uncertain geopolitical times, that governments domestically, in New Zealand, where we're still right on the fringes, we're right out on the edge, we're not in the pathway of major superpowers here. But we are going to be going, okay, well, how do we ensure we can stay safe and independent and, keep everyone okay? And fear is always this, driver towards authoritarian policy and laws.
We've got 3 campaigns that we've announced now, our 3 key campaigns. that's not going to be sort of all we do. Obviously, we'll continue to do. We've got our court case with Auckland Citizen.
That's right.
We've got a few events. Nick, you're going to be speaking at a symposium. I'm going to be attending a conference in Australia. We've got some view to do some other in-person gatherings.
Yeah.
We're opening up our membership soon.
That's right.
That'll come with
Pins and all.
community and a welcome package and opportunities for you to engage more. But our 3 key campaigns are really the tip of the spear, focusing on digital security and privacy, then looking into the 2026 election, and then foreign interference with our foreign influence register scheme. So we've got plenty on the table, and information's out there if you want to see it on our website. But Ariane, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what your sort of quarterbacking our 2026 election campaign. Talk to me a little bit about your predictions for how that's going to sort of unroll or unfurl, or how do you see it going?
How 2026 is going to go. Every time there's an election, people say, this is the most important election. This is the most important. And I think as we move into this election cycle, as with every other election cycle, there will be a lot of noise. There will be a lot of politics. There will be a lot of who said what about whose mum and whose uncle and this and this and that. And that's inevitable, and there's a lot of hype, and it's fun to watch. But I think often in the midst of all the noise, we lose sight of the very basic stuff, the civil liberties, the very basic rights that get very quietly eroded away with simple legislation that says, oh, well, we just want to care for the kids. We just want to ban social media because we love the kids. Yeah. Or whether it's hate speech legislation or hate crime legislation or digital identity schemes that threaten privacy, or lots of things. They can kind of get hidden amidst the dust and the fog. And so I think what I'm quite excited about for Pillar for this year is being a comforting voice in the midst of all the noise, being a source of stability, and just staying real grounded on the real key principles of Pillar, but also our democracy. And so we're all looking forward to providing commentary this year. In terms of what's going to happen, there's been a lot of talk about a grand coalition. I'm suspicious of that. I don't think there will be a grand coalition, although my colleague here has put his KiwiSaver on it.
My KiwiSaver.
He's put his whole KiwiSaver. I don't think there will be a grand coalition.
Words.
There might be for a specific piece of legislation coming up to the election, including the free trade agreement or the under-16 social media ban, which I don't think...
Or countering extremism bills.
Or countering extremism bills, which...
would be hate speech, hate crime.
Yeah. So we might see some grand coalition stuff, but that is a very risky thing to do before an election, because your voter base on both sides will see you as betraying them.
The only thing that I see stopping it, because I'd say I'm 30%. Mainly because a couple of key actors fairly high up in the National Party, I don't think that they would be on board with that. But I think as popularity shifts more and more towards the fringe in terms of ACT and NZ First, I think National will
pull that back.
I think that they'll freak out a little bit. I think that they'll get annoyed by that. And I think, in my view, as long as ACT and NZ First cannot step on each other's toes, and I mean, as long as they don't attack each other and try to sink each other's ships and try to steal each other's votes.
David and Winston.
Yeah, if they just keep heading in the directions they're both going independently, they will gain more and more of the national base. If National sees that and identifies that, I think there's a chance that leadership will force it. I don't think everyone in the party will be on board.
Force it being what?
Grand coalition talks with Labour. I don't think everyone in the party will be on board. I think there'll be quite a few senior members who are very vocally against it.
Yeah.
But I think if anything we know about National is the leadership of the party dictates with every party, they dictate what the party does. But I think in National that leadership, current leadership would be totally okay with heading into those discussions if they felt that they were losing too many supporters.
Interesting. Do you think the similar case would occur for Labour? Do you think they would?
Labour doesn't have anyone else to play with. They can't go to Pāti Māori.
They can't. No.
The Greens are losing popularity all the time. Like who realistically, they don't have the popularity to be a majority government.
No, not at all. It's their only chance of being in government.
Winston will only touch them if absolutely necessary, and David, I don't think, will touch them at all.
No, not at all.
So
not at all.
But this is me speaking from
Yeah,
Just my record.
from
This is
outside.
absolutely
Yeah,
zero
of
evidence
course.
other than the 2 Powerade bottles on Twitter.
Yeah, Chris Bishop posted 2 Powerade bottles, a picture of 2 Powerade bottles, a blue one and a red one.
Yeah.
And that's convinced us of a grand coalition coming.
Now, do you know what's funny? It's like, how can you as a minister be promoting products?
Who said that? There's someone
There's
posted
so
that.
many
Oh my
comments were like,
gosh.
you're not allowed to do this as a government minister promoting products. How dare you? That I'm like, oh, shut up.
Get a job.
Nick, as the person who's seen the most elections out of all of us,
Crazy. Has there ever been a grand coalition? Has there? Okay. I'm giving away a bit of my ignorance there, but that's okay.
Oh, in New Zealand.
Yeah.
pretty sure there is. I thought we talked about it like a few weeks ago.
Let me do some research. Jamie, pull that up. Jamie. I'm not Jamie. That's okay.
What do you reckon?
I'm not aware of there ever having been one.
I mean, you only studied politics.
I mean, apart from World War II, maybe perhaps when there was some sort of wartime
government.
government. I don't. I mean, that happened in. It's happened in other countries. I'm not even sure it happened here in New Zealand. Yeah.
So what do you think about all my conspiracy ramblings?
No, I was.
Did you follow?
No, I was laughing at your grand conspiracy. So
Yeah.
What, a grand coalition?
Yeah, you reckon it's?
I don't think it's that grand because they don't have that much voter share,
Support.
you know.
they're both going to be on
That's my
10%.
point. That's my point. They're being pushed together
Labour.
by unpopularity or lack of popularity.
Yeah, I think we probably will get something similar to what we have right now. I think that's likely
But with greater,
My view.
with more power sitting with NZ First and Act.
I think those New Zealand First and Act can. New Zealand First particularly has a history of really big, like boosting kind of numbers at the polls, just right up, to the very last second. You don't know what's happening, and then suddenly they get this surge at the polls. They often are underestimated. It's still, I think, quite likely that might happen this time again.
They look strong.
They do.
They look so strong.
They do.
And Winston is like, for someone of his age,
He's winning.
he's sharp.
Whether you like it or
All
not.
I would
he's
say
winning.
is, hey, and I wouldn't wish any harm on anyone. But at his age, he's 80, right? 80, 81, 80.
Something like that.
That's a high
80.
level of pressure to be operating at this point.
But I don't think he feels it as pressure. I think he feels it as purpose. He's not operating out of
No.
you know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong. He's a creature of New Zealand politics. You know, he loves it. He lives and breathes it. But I simply mean that there is even in the most avid participant in politics, there's a physical limit to what you can handle, and age has that effect on people. So
no one can outrun time, eh?
yeah, I think if he was a dictator in some banana republic, and he's got all these minions just running around doing everything he says, and he sits there on the throne and just kind of issues edicts, then it's entirely possible that you could carry on into your 90s, like they did in Zimbabwe with Mugabe or people places like that.
Would you live
Castro.
Would you live there?
No, heck no. But I think the nature of political office here is that you are working your butt off.
Oh yeah, especially as foreign minister.
If you're in government, you
don't even start.
There's a huge amount.
I think Winston's working his butt off. I don't want to generalize and say they're all
I'm not
working
saying
their butts
everybody works equally hard. What I'm saying
Depending
is
on the
that,
party, yeah.
But if you're in government and especially if you're in cabinet,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You hold
That's
hold
what I
some
said.
sort of portfolio. It's going to be massive demands on your time and energy.
Yeah.
So hey, I mean, he's been so good in the role of
Foreign Minister.
Minister of Foreign Affairs. That, but can he continue that pace? Because that's a hectic pace for anyone even half his age.
He did so much, hey?
Yeah.
Traveled so many places.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
Yeah. So sorry. Let me just get yes or no. Grand Coalition?
No.
I have my serious doubts about it. At the same time, maybe there are individuals. I can't
yes
do
or
a
no.
yes or no. So, that.
I'm gonna say yes.
$5 each. We put $5 on the table.
Yeah.
I say no.
You say no?
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
we'll split the $5.
We'll see which one of us. I mean, I'm not hoping for that. I don't want that, but I think I think it would honestly be the best for the 2026 season.
Okay, let me say this.
It hasn't happened.
Hasn't happened.
I don't think that they would intentionally go into negotiations with that goal in mind. But I I could potentially see them settling for a grand coalition if the minor parties aren't playing ball and they can't. You know, if Luxon or whoever's in charge of National at that point cannot, you know, kind of be in control, then they might go to the other party. But that's an even more difficult negotiation if you think about it.
I don't know if it is though.
Well, because you've got egos. I mean, why would Labour want to do that? Are they going to go like in Israel? They're going to go.
Of a pay
You can be
increase.
prime minister for a year, and then I'll be prime minister for a year, and then someone else will be. You know, because they form these crazy like big coalitions there.
But it would give them an opportunity to step back into power without having to get into bed with the Greens and Te Pāti Māori again. It would make them look like the heroes that saved New Zealand from NZ First and Act, which their base would absolutely love, and the people who are still loyal to National would be like, "Oh yeah, that's fair enough." It would give.
I'm not saying
It would make the Greens and the Te Pāti Māori's job quite difficult.
I think all it's going to do though is all it's going to do is if they formed a grand coalition, both Labour and National would just bleed more votes for the future.
But they don't care about that. Like,
I think the smaller parties can be and have historically been more willing to take risks.
But they're relying on what we've talked about in the past, which is like once blue, always blue. Like these people who just vote based on allegiance rather than
I think they're realizing though that they can't take that for granted quite so much, but they haven't realized it fast enough.
I don't think they are realizing. Yeah, exactly.
And those people are passing away.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, they're generationally, right? No, generationally, people don't have that same fealty. They don't have the same loyalty to the party.
Yeah.
So I think they're realizing that, and they're up and coming voices. You know,
I just have to actually. I have to just call us out for a second here.
Oh,
because we have been talking about the election, and we haven't even mentioned the new kids on the block, the top party.
Oh god, Quaiwa one. Sorry,
QA1.
QA1.
Called them the top party. It's just top party.
Top party. Tops party.
I am so looking forward to seeing them get their 5,000 votes. These guys, they put out an open call for candidacy.
Who are they taking votes from? That's my question, right?
The Greens, apparently.
Yeah.
So anyone wants to be a candidate? There you go. And I suppose that's democracy, right?
Yeah.
Throw your hat in the ring, go for it. But I'm like, you didn't do any recruiting. You didn't do any, like, who's a really reputable person or someone in the society that already has a brand, maybe a former athlete or a former business person or someone with some sort of public appeal. Oh, do you want to be in our party? You know, like
they got 63,000 votes, which is 2% last time. They said they're aiming for 150,000, so they need like 90,000, nearly 100,000.
We're also I mean, top party. That's their only chance, right? Is party vote, but we're only talking about party votes at the moment. Really, we're not really thinking about some of those key electorates that MPs might win. That can make a difference to the minor parties.
Yeah.
You know, will Chloe like win Auckland Central again?
who's she up against?
Well, that's the question, right?
The national guy who worked at, who was like a co-founder of Canva, Indian fella. He's a tech guy.
Co-founder of Canva.
Yeah, that's what.
Get him in. I love Canva.
I forgot his name.
Pull him up.
Yeah.
What's his name?
No.
M, isn't it?
Yes, national.
It's pretty unreal if he co-founded Canva. It's a great.
He says co-founder, but he was like, I don't think he was co-founder, but he was up. He was like very early on. Yeah.
Still impressive. Canva. I saw this article the other day. It was like why Canva's putting Photoshop out of business. Like they've just absolutely nailed the user interface and the ease of experience for anybody and everybody, and then the functionality is good enough that it can compete with some of the more easier tasks.
Wow. Mahesh.
I'm just showing you how much I love Canva right now. Not that anyone else cares.
Canva's great.
You guys are like,
no, Canva's great.
Yeah, I couldn't even turn this camera on today. So
I love Canva.
His name's Mahesh.
Mahesh. Yeah.
I don't know if he'll run again this year, but
no, actually,
running for Labour.
No, someone I know is involved in his committee.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, is he still? He's going to run again this year.
That's the last time.
Well,
honestly, how do you even say you're going to fix Auckland Central? It's so bad in town, eh? I suppose is that their problem or is that Wayne's problem? Surely Wayne's on it.
Local government's ultimately under the thumb of central government, right?
Not Wayne. He's a free man. That's what he wants.
None of the mayors want to be under the thumb of the central government, but legislatively, in terms of authority, there.
Yeah, no. Fair enough.
Did you see his Christmas video that he did? Wayne's Christmas video.
Yeah,
it was quite good. I don't know. You maybe didn't see it.
But he also didn't he do some sort of message with, was it Chloe?
Yeah, that was part of
That
that was
was
the video.
Christmas
Yeah,
one. Oh, that was it. Yeah, okay,
he
sorry,
did this
yeah.
long. It was
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
well done. I thought
Yeah.
it was, even though Chloe was in there, I thought it was
His
good.
team around him has done a good job at like
Making him look nicer than he is.
balancing him as like what he is, which is an older male, but he's got a really good social presence. I like him.
He's good in media. I'll say that. Like,
Yeah.
I enjoy watching him do media because he's not political. Like,
I have some questions around his track record before.
oh, I don't know.
Council.
His,
Don't remind him of his
I'm gonna
past,
go-
mate.
I'm
Don't
gonna
bring his past up.
No, I mean, he's not young. He's like, isn't he 80?
Yeah, but if I get to 80 and I've got no skeletons, jeez.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about like it
What am I
wasn't that
doing
long
with
ago.
my life?
No, we're not talking about that long ago. Talking about
last
in the
year.
last 10, 20 years, you know. No, I think in terms of his honesty and stuff, I really question that.
maybe, yeah, he's 79. Yeah, I've heard that when you're in a meeting with him, it's a very difficult environment.
Yeah,
He's not a
I
particularly.
mean, hey, some people have that kind of very, you know,
very
go forward
aggressive
kind of
and
attitude. But
but
no, I just mean more some of the integrity questions around what he's done in the past.
We went off track because we actually started this conversation about the campaign. But
yeah, well,
so
yeah.
there you go, 2026 campaign for
Exciting
elections.
times.
There you go.
Yeah,
Foreign interference. We've talked a bit about it in the past, but FIRS, foreign interest, foreign
Interests.
foreign influence registry scheme.
Yep.
There we go. You're drafting something that we're putting together and
Yep.
Sir?
Yeah.
get across the line. Should be good.
We're looking at how we can improve on the UK model.
That might be where we see the Grand Coalition. Just saying.
Well,
Get them something
the
to partner
Purple
on.
hopefully we
Coalition.
can get something to they can
Yeah.
agree on this at least, right?
And then obviously the digital privacy security stuff.
Yeah.
Mainly the Online Safety Commission calls.
Goodness
Well,
gracious.
I mean, I would not be surprised if an online commissioner and an e-safety commissioner was proposed by the likes of Erica Stanford and Catherine Wedd. We'll be pushing back against that pretty hard. I mean, look at Australia. What an absolute shambles. What a
Do you think,
shambles.
Paul Goldsmith's even against an online safety commissioner?
Paul Goldsmith would be for it.
I think it would be.
You reckon?
Yeah.
I think initially he would, and then people would start speaking up, and
And then he would back down.
I think so a little bit. That's I mean,
The people that I wish were more involved with this sort of stuff is like your Chris Bishops, Simeon Browns, Chris Pinks.
a little bit of principle. Like,
The people who are really good on the issues of liberty, freedom, free speech, things like that.
Seymour.
Well, Seymour would push back.
Yeah, 100%.
Winston wouldn't be for it either. There's plenty of people in New Zealand first.
Oh, did you say Seymour wouldn't push back?
Seymour would push
Oh,
back?
would,
against the
100%.
Online-
Yeah.
Online Safety Commissioner.
Oh, of course.
That's just the Australia. I don't know. If you look at how Australia is doing all of these things, they're giving themselves all these extraterritorial powers that just set them up to be like in conflict with like American law, which is where all these companies are based.
Yeah.
They don't actually have any real power to enforce it, but they have like superpower inside their own country to punish people. Same as the UK. They're all like they're trying to do the ban.
I can't believe it.
Canada the same. What we need to do is be world leaders on this, not world followers.
Well said.
Quote
That's
that.
true.
Quote me there.
The best things that we've done have often been brave, right? Sometimes it's watching other people first and then forming our impression.
We let women vote first.
But I think that just because we do something first doesn't make us right.
Do you know someone? I saw a video.
That's what Kiwis often forget.
Yeah.
We think,
Yeah.
oh, because we're
gonna be world leaders.
You know, like expanding
Women
the franchise to
voting
women as
or-
well.
yeah.
Voting. But I think we just got to take each thing on its merits, right?
You know, I saw a video of someone trying to claim that Australia was the first nation to give the woman the right to vote, and then it was on a technicality that apparently they passed the legislation first, but our election happened first, so the woman technically voted first in New Zealand.
But they've also
Is that
claimed,
right?
They've also claimed Farlap. They've claimed
Pavlova.
John Clark, Pavlova.
Bro. Get
These guys are losers, man.
No way.
If you're watching this from Australia, get a life.
Yeah.
I'm trying to steal all of our glory. And on that note,
And they also think that all we think about all the time is how Australia is like out to defeat us.
I don't even care about Australia. Can't even spell it.
We're not insecure about Australia, all right?
That's what I'm saying.
Anyway,
That's what
we've covered some good distance in our first episode back.
Yeah, we have.
It's good to be back with you guys. Arian, I don't know if you've thought much about this over the summer, but you want to continue the slow outros?
I think I want to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, okay. Give us a medium.
Please do.
Medium,
Why don't
medium
we play
speed.
on with it? Do you want to do fast today, medium today? You tell us what speed you're
I
at.
want to go fast.
Okay, let's try a fast outro.
All right. Thank you everyone for watching. It's been a pleasure to spend time with you as always. Thank you for listening. If you have a wife and kids, love them. If you don't, love the people around you. Give them a kiss on our behalf. Thanks for watching.
Bro, what's
Stay
wrong
in
with
touch. Stay in tune. We'll see you soon.
Oh man.
Don't do that. Don't ever do that outro again.
What, you don't want people to love their wives and children?
I don't know. I don't need them to give
don't need the-
people
don't need
kiss
the
on my
image, yeah.
behalf. But okay. All right.
On my behalf.
All right.
Do it on my
Bro,
behalf.
that would-
Look, they don't love you.
I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural
love
thing.
you.
I just think, yeah.
Yeah, look.
Should I do it again?
See you guys. No, don't do it.